Hey everyone, Greg here. As you may know by now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of TripShock, an online reseller for water sports and tours. For the past 12 years, we've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of operators across the country, and we're looking to grow our community. It's free to sign up, and you only pay when we bring you confirmed bookings. We'll help you reach new customers, fill empty seats, and grow your business like so many have done with us over the years. Head over to partners.tripshock.com to learn more about our program, read testimonials, or speak directly with our supply team. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
But,
did they have like gold earrings? How did you know they were gypsies?
Oh, well, if I can find a picture, I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put it in the show notes. It's pretty interesting, but that's not common for Myrtle Beach. This was something I'd never seen before, but they were unusual. That's not normally the demographic.
What? Traveling bands of gypsies?
Yeah.
What? You're crazy. They're all everywhere around here.
Yeah. No,
I didn't think that there was like gypsies since like the Wizard of Oz.
They come to relax, enjoy the beach, have fun, and spend money. And that's where we come in. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. Find out tips on the best ways to market and operate a water sports business. If you're a water sports operator, you need to grow your brand, operate more safely, upgrade your operations, and of course, increase bookings. We're industry veterans, broadcasting from Destin, Florida. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast, and this is Kevin O'Neill and Greg Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the AWG podcast. On today's show, we are going to be stepping outside the watersport world and chatting with Condo-World Chief Marketing Officer Alex Husner. A lot of folks in the greater tourism space will say that activities and tours are 10 years behind the vacation rentals in terms of technology, distribution, and price management. Kevin and I thought it'd be interesting to understand a little more about the space and what we can learn from it. But before we begin, let's say hello to the co-host with the most, Mr. Kevin O'Neill.
Yeah, co-host with the most, man. That's like some Casey Kasem lead-in right there, buddy.
I actually thought about the lead-in this week.
I know you did, man. You hit it so professional. And listen, because before we got on air, we were talking about politically correctness. Greg, this week, it's the Awkward Watersports People podcast, because it's not just guys.
Yeah,
it's a gal.
That's true.
Alex is a gal. I don't want people to be confused. They'll be like, wait a minute, what do you mean? His name is Alex. Alex is the CMO and was super, super enlightening us. I had a lot of fun with this one.
I was going to wait until next week to ask you this question, but what are you going to be for Halloween? Because knowing your mind and what you think about, it's got to be something good.
No, I put it into my kids and then they just completely like ruined it for me this year. I every year, like if one of them, I want to do someone's makeup, so I don't get dressed up, but I go all out for theirs. If you go through my Facebook and look at my daughter Ripley last year, she was Chucky, and I fucking knocked it out of the park, dude. Like her hair was like the perfect length, like Chucky's, and I just dyed it like bright orange. But I've done my oldest was Darth Maul. Best one we ever did was, have you ever seen the movie Alien?
Yeah.
With Sigourney Weaver. All right, remember the doctor, the alien, like the alien's called the chest burster.
Yeah.
This also on my personal Facebook page. My wife is Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character. I am the doctor, and I don't know his name. My wife's a huge fan. Our daughter's name is Ripley, so my wife is a huge Aliens fan. And Ripley, my daughter, not Sigourney Weaver, is the chest burster. I had her in a baby Bjorn, and then we had her like she was an infant, like newborn, and she's busting through my chest. Like my shirt's ripped open, and there's blood all over my shirt, and then there's like a little bit of fake blood on her, and then I ordered a chest burster toy, and then I fashioned it onto her head. Like I made like Tammy sewed like a thing onto it, so she's the alien chest burster coming out of my chest, and my wife is Sigourney Weaver. That's probably the best one. But
that sounds like you.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like that you would dress your baby in blood and.
Man, anybody that got it was like, oh Oh my God, that is so cool. Like anybody else that didn't was just like, what? I don't understand. Why is your baby like coming through your chest? I'm like, just get out of my way. Give me a bag of candy. So this year we're not doing much. What about you guys? You guys got anything cool going on for Halloween?
No, not really. We're just gonna stay put, probably just hang out with the neighbors. But the kids went to Walmart and got these hot dog costumes. They wear them all the time. They wear them in the house. And so
of course they do.
So, and it's so funny because they just saw them and they're like, we want to be. And so my son's like, well, she has a hot dog. I want it. So they're 2 hot dogs. It is what it is. I mean, next year.
I love it. Listen,
but it's funny. Let's talk about Alex Husner. So Alex Husner is the CMO of Condo-World, and we just finished the interview about 30 minutes ago. What did you find the most interesting thing about the interview?
The MLM structure of like the interwoven of like OTAs, like stacked on top of OTAs. Like I was blown away by that. I had no idea that happened in the world of like hospitality. So I thought that was, besides the gypsies, spoiler alert, that I thought was like the most illuminating thing. But other than that, you guys are like CEOs and CMOs, and I'm just a big dumb city boy. I don't know anything. You guys are so smart, man. You guys, your colleges and titles and stuff. You get me right in my heart.
How about we get this interview started?
All right, I'm excited. Alex Husner.
Great, let's do it. All right, we're here with Alex Husner, Chief Marketing Officer for Condo-World. She's joining us all the way from beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be here with y'all.
So Alex, typically we like to have our guests tell us a little bit about themselves, how they got to where they are.
I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Condo-World is based in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've been with the company for 11 years now. Prior to that, had a couple jobs at marketing agencies when I got out of college, and one of them, Condo-World, was my client. Worked with them for about a year, and then they hired me to come on full time, and have been there ever since. It's been a really great tenure there, and we've done a lot of great things with technology, and really gotten to see the vacation rental industry change and progress significantly since those early years. But it's been a lot of fun. Myrtle Beach is a great market to work in. We've got it's one of the top 3 vacation destinations in the United States. A very popular place to come, and just great place to live and work. So life is pretty good up here. Boy.
Did they actually shoot Eastbound and Down in Myrtle Beach?
No. Yes. Yeah. Wait, Eastbound and Down. That's the scene with what's his name? You're gonna have to help me there.
No,
motorcycles.
I can blank that. Oh man, now I'm gonna have to Google it because now I just Kenny Powers. He's a retired.
Right. Yes.
And he moves
and
to
Will Ferrell
Myrtle
too.
Beach. Will Ferrell is in that show. I love Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, no, they filmed it during, it was supposed to be, there's something about like Black Bike Week, which is it's a thing here. Like it's not a racist thing. There is Black Bike Week here.
Absolutely. That's an actual, so it's like African American, like motorcycle group, a week.
Well, it's, normally ends up being Memorial Day. This year it got canceled because of COVID. It's every Memorial Day.
When you say Black Bike Week,
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I want to know what that, I kind of remember, but it's an African American biker group, right?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be racist by saying Black.
No.
That's what they call it.
We're gonna have to edit. We're gonna have to edit this out, really. I don't think we should have to. But I mean, it's like a marketed thing, though. Black Bike Week, though, right?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it started in Atlantic Beach, actually, which is kind of a strange thing. Atlantic Beach seceded from North Myrtle Beach, seceded from the Union at one point. So it's like 2 blocks of beach. That is where the rally originally started. And it goes back many years. I mean, I think it started sometime in the 60s or something. So they've got, people that have literally been coming since all the way back then, but it's become a pretty big event. I mean, we've got people from all over the Southeast that come for it. But
well, watch how I smoothly segue this in case Greg does have to cut, because I know Greg's laughs, and I feel like he has a very nervous laugh back there right now. He's like, I'm going to be editing this out. All right, so that's all right. It's fine. This is the formula for a good podcast. But so tell me this, because I do want to diverge a little bit. So Myrtle Beach, being that you're the CMO, for a thriving rental industry, have you noticed a segment change as far as who your core demographics have been? Or have you? Because I've seen a couple different vacation towns kind of change the way they marketed facelifted the town. So for example, like spring break, like I've seen a lot of vacation town pivot away from the spring break crowd, $99 special, whatever it may be, and try and gear themselves more towards family. Has Myrtle Beach seen that transformation as well?
Kind of. So, I mean, Myrtle Beach has always been a family beach destination. I mean, it started in the early 1900s. That's kind of always what it's been known for, is families. And I think we've had highs and lows over the years. Right now, I mean, Myrtle Beach is so different than it was even just 5-10 years ago. I mean, development and new attractions and restaurants and new properties. And I mean, there's just been so much money infused in the destination that it's all leading to a good thing. I think our families are definitely still our core demographic, but I think we're able to get a little bit higher demographic clientele now than we were probably back, when I first started Condo-World, I'd say. But overall, we target families, we target golfers, got a good mix of Canadians that come down here. But there really is, I know everybody says it, but there really is something here for everybody, whether it's guys getaway, a girlfriend getaway, a couples getaway. There's really so much to do here. Not as much on the arts side and, the culture side, but as far as restaurants and beautiful places to go and things like that, it's a good spot.
I've been to Myrtle Beach as well, but I just always, I guess being North Florida, we've got a little bit more of a segmented demographic where I think for years, Panama City was the spring break spot, but I guess and Destin was more like family. And I was only there for a few days, so I didn't really get to take it all in. But for some reason, I just thought Myrtle Beach kind of had a spring break reputation.
How long ago was it that you were here?
No, I guess no, not that long ago. Maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit less of a spring break crowd now. I mean, I don't know that it's ever been nearly as big as Panama City beaches for spring break, but I mean, it really, I guess that's just where it has something for everybody. And it depends on where you are and what you see. And I don't really see a lot of it between, I work a lot and I'm at home and we go out on the waterway. We're big boaters. So
you guys aren't doing peg stands and
no,
shooters
not anymore.
Cabo San Lucas or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe in Cabo. Yeah. Here I've got to be a little more careful.
All right. I'm sorry. I have to divert this sometimes. Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, I was just going to say, isn't Myrtle Beach a popular golfing destination? It's probably one of the biggest, I'd say, in the South. If not.
Yeah. I mean, we call ourselves the golf capital of the world. At one point, there was 120 golf courses here. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's down to probably 70 at this point. A lot have gotten sold and redeveloped into real estate, but still, we've got beautiful, beautiful courses here. So that's definitely still a big part of our market. Unfortunately, a lot of golfers have aged out. The groups that have been coming here for decades that, there's 40, 50 guys coming down from Massachusetts, they're older now and they don't want to travel. And with COVID, that makes it a lot worse too. So we're definitely on a hunt to get younger golfers both into the industry and get them to come down to Myrtle Beach because it's affordable to come to, and there's a lot of direct flights from most of the golf markets that we market to.
So yeah. What do you do? Walk us through the average season of a popular OTA reseller of vacation properties.
Sure. So I'll just back up a little bit. I'll kind of give a high level on what Condo-World is because we are a little bit different. Condo-World has been in business since 1985. So same year Greg and I were born. Been a leader in condo rentals, oceanfront and North Myrtle Beach for many years. We branched out about 6 years ago and expanded on that business model using the Condo-World brand to book reservations like an OTA for other properties. So we first started in Myrtle Beach and brought on 9 resorts down in this area, which is actually, I live in Myrtle Beach, work in North Myrtle, and brought those on and built up a great program doing the marketing, booking reservations through our call center, advertising on our website. We've taken that now to other destinations that we see that same synergy that we think that Condo-World brand will resonate, that there's a good amount of condo inventory in that destination, and that our guest history, the customers that know Condo-World, would be interested in visiting. So trying to give more options to our guests to visit other destinations because we know people don't always want to go to the same place. You do want to know if you're going to try a new destination that you're going to go somewhere that's going to be the same quality that you're used to if you've always been coming to Myrtle Beach. So that's worked out really well, but it makes us a little bit different because we do sit on both sides of the fence as a traditional vacation rental management business, but also as a OTA marketing company technology firm. So we've built all of our own software, our own revenue management tools, our website, everything that our CRM, everything that we've built has been done in-house. So we've got a lot of different things going on. It keeps it interesting.
Alex, you've been doing this. I mean, you've personally been doing this for a long time, but Condo-World's been in it for a very long time. Both you and your ownership have seen a lot change. And I'm just kind of curious of like, what are the big points of change in the past 30 years when it comes to vacation rentals, as far as technology, distribution, operation, those type of things?
Really, it all just comes down to technology. When I first started, Roy Clyburn, who owns Condo-World, when he hired me, I remember saying to him, "Who does your marketing?" And he said, "I do." I said, "Well, just you?" And he said, "Yeah." He's 85 years old now, so even back then, he still wasn't, a young marketing person. So
that's awesome.
But he did a great job. I mean, he did a fabulous job. But he wrote all the copy and marketing back before the internet was so prevalent marketing was writing the copy for ads. It was picking out pictures, and then you get a designer and they'd make your rental brochure and they'd do your newspaper ads. And that was basically it. You do some advertising with the Chamber of Commerce and that was basically it. But now, I mean, as you guys know, there's an endless supply of ways to market, whether you're a tourism activity company or you're a vacation rental company. There's so many different things you can do. I mean, technology has changed us so much, even just year to year. It's just unbelievable. I think that the interesting progression really has been in the dynamic pricing, the revenue management, and the distribution. And a lot of that, the main model it started with airlines, that they started, doing dynamic pricing. And then that transitioned to hotels, and then vacation rentals have just started getting into that within the last probably 3 to 5 years max, I'd say. And then I think that's filtering down into activities that eventually will be with you guys too. And maybe it already is. I'm not sure. That's definitely an interesting progression to have seen. And on the distribution side, I mean, Airbnb, VRBO have completely changed things for our model. I mean, most people just assume that this is something new that we do. It's not. Condo-World's been around for 35 years. There's many of our competitors that have been around for 60 years. So the model of renting people's homes is not new. Really what we are a management and a marketing company that we have the people. I mean, we're just a team of people. We don't own any of our properties, which puts us in a very good situation, especially in tough times like these where, we don't have a mortgage to worry about per se.
Hey,
I mean, we've got homeowners.
Can I stop you?
Sure,
I want to back up and ask you a quick question. All right. So you are the first CMO of Condo-World. Am I to understand that right then? Okay.
Yeah.
Did the ownership give you free range? Was he just like, all right, take us into the 21st century, or was he already there?
Yeah. I mean, we were not there for sure. We were, even for back in the, this was 2009 that I joined the company, or 2009. I mean, we were probably the most progressive within our industry back then, but there was still a lot that needed to be done. But I mean, we had a website, we had online booking, but it was very minimal at that time. We didn't do any Google ads. Like I remember when I was working at the advertising agency and I went in to get Condo-World as a client, that was one of the things I sold them on, was doing Google ads. Roy saying, that's ridiculous. Nobody clicks on those. And I said, no, people do. And he said, well, how do you prevent one of our competitors from going on there and just clicking away? And so he's always had a contention with Google ads, fast forward 11 years and, we spend millions of dollars in pay-per-click, and it is, we track it incessantly, and it's just an incredible program for us. I mean, it's very expensive, but the return's there, then certainly something we continue to do.
Well, something that I think we see in our industry a lot. And that's why I'm sorry, Greg. I mean,
go ahead.
I know we came at the same time, but I just imagine some of your partners and some of the people I know in the industry at 85 years old, still marketing, they just be like exactly what you said. And even in 2020, where Google ads are so much more prevalent, in 2009, obviously they weren't as expensive, but they were definitely segmented from in the search. They were easier to recognize as an ad. And even with a younger demographic in our industry, I still see the same question pops up when I talk to new operators. As I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and he was just like, really, should I use Google ads? And I just want to reach to the phone and smack him around. I'm like, dude, what are you, 85 years old?
It's crazy. It's like, this is the lowest hanging fruit of people that they're literally saying they're interested in you, versus, and there's still some traditional marketing things that we do. We do still some print, and we still print our 60 plus page brochure, which it's really like a coffee piece table for our core clientele and homeowners. You know, for the most part, it's like we can track that so well, and we track everything online and over the phone. It's great. But I will say though, even though Roy is 85 and Greg, obviously you've met Roy many times when you've been up to Myrtle Beach. He's not your average 85-year-old business CEO. He really, to be honest, I mean, he knows more about pay-per-click and SEO and digital marketing than most people my age, I would say, if you weren't, you know, in advertising and marketing as a career. Yeah, he's extremely well versed.
Extremely impressive, and I love the stories of him going to Vegas.
When you first said 85, I immediately thought like a detached, like, you know, like rich business owner, just like sitting back.
No. He's like
send the nickel down to the paper and put an ad in there. Tell him to put a coupon in there.
Yeah, no, he is literally at the office every day. He comes in at 10 and he's there till 5. Very much, you know, built the business from scratch and very much wants to see it continue to grow. And I mean, honestly, that's the secret to staying young, is keeping your mind engaged when you get to that age. Cause
that's what I hope I'm doing.
Very different.
When I'm 85, I do hope that's me. Sure. That's going to keep me going, you know, and Roy, if you met him, you know, you would not think he was 85. Because he's just is so sharp. Mm-hmm. But it's what keeps him sharp is keeping himself involved, and he's cool. He's a really cool guy. I bought him a bottle of Johnny Walker when I first met him.
That's right. Yeah, you definitely won him over with that.
So Alex, I wanted to ask you, so when somebody wants to rent out their property, if they have a condo or a house, you know, you guys take that property, you manage it, you do the cleaning and renovations, but you also distribute it to Airbnb and VRBO and all these other places. How does that all work? Because I feel like it's somewhat similar to a guy that's renting kayaks and he wants to get online and he gets with a reservation system and then it distributes. But I'm just curious about how that all works and, you know, the commission structures and things like that.
Yeah. It's similar in theory, but it's a little bit different because since we don't own the accommodations, I mean, we make a commission and the homeowner gets the lion's share of that money. So we're working on compressed margins for sure. So that's something that we have to be really mindful of when we do put our properties on OTAs, because, you know, and it really varies within the industry depending on where you're located. But I mean, average rental commission as a property manager is anywhere from, I've seen some do as low as 0% for the first couple of years, which is crazy, but, as low as 15% up to like 30. I think that's probably within most of the companies that I know of in our area here and also down in Northwest Florida area. That becomes challenging if you want to put your properties on booking.com, that their commission is 15%. So if you're charging 15%, then you're not making anything on that. You've got to have a strategy in place to inflate the rate to be able to cut, or, you know, I mean, use OTAs as a last minute lifeline that sometimes it's worth it not to make any commission on a booking. You're still going to get your fees because we make money on the maid service and the processing fee and stuff like that, but it might be worth it to get the booking for the homeowner. There's a lot of things. It's almost like we manage on our own portfolio 600 units. So it's like we've got 600 bosses. And then with our resort partners that we just book reservations for, that's, you know, adds up to a total of about 15,000 units. We don't have 15,000 bosses, but they're kind of more consolidated between companies. You've got a lot of different people at the table that you have to answer to. It makes it a little bit more complicated. We're a very big book direct company. I think that's one thing that we've been really strong on and really growing the Condo-World brand. And that's definitely something I would recommend to any of the attractions companies too. I mean, the more that you can grow your own brand, the less you have to rely on the OTAs. The OTAs are good. They bring you new business that you probably wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise, hopefully. But once they become your customer, you want them to become your customer and not go back that route.
I was just going to say that more than likely, like, then you even if your margins are super small, the CLV, you can sort of add that once you put that into your email list, and then you can reach back out to that person, obviously, through cheaper means. So just wrangling them away from the OTA. It's like what Greg loves to hear.
Yeah. I've got a question. I've got a question for you guys. And I've been an avid listener of the podcast since you guys started it, and I've always been curious about this. Do water sports companies get a lot of repeat business? So I feel like even if you go to Destin every year, I feel like people would do different activities when they go, not always do the same thing.
It depends. For Kevin's sake, boat rentals, my guess is that he's really starting to develop a strong repeat business. But if it was something like parasailing or one of those off the cuff type things, you're not going to see a lot of repeat on there. Like I know TripShock site wide, we're 7% repeat customers.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, I'm gonna have to differ an opinion. Again, I think it's in the marketplace, and it depends on what your offerings are too. So if you're a company that has a lot of different offerings, if you knock them out of the box with parasailing, and that's the one thing they did on that trip, but you also have a sunset cruise or a dolphin cruise,
yeah.
I believe you'd be able to, but I don't work for every company out there, but I can tell you that a lot of the larger companies, when I lived in Key West, and they're starting to get into this now, but they weren't doing any kind of like direct response marketing. They weren't hitting them back with an email, hitting them nonstop. It could be a content machine. If you're in Key West or you're in North Florida and they went parasailing with you and you're reminding them about our beautiful waters and all the things there are to do out on the water, of which you offer, at least 5 or 6. Yeah. I mean, you can definitely build and should be building a brand in water sports, especially if you have, different offerings and you have a diverse waterscape of people to get out there. I think it might be a little different with TripShock than it is with ours, just because I don't know. I don't own an OTA, so I might be speaking out of place here, but we can really dial in our marketing or remarketing like back to the customer just because they came and saw us and rented a boat. So if I want to hit them back for like a sunset cruise or remind them how great Destin is or whatever content piece I'm going to email to them to get them when they come back, if they're considering a boat rental or kayak or jet ski, then they're going to come back. I don't know how. I'm sure Greg has like some stratospheric segmentation process he goes through. I don't know what goes on in that
I think
mind.
that with an OTA, our job is to develop new relationships for our partners, because I mean, if I'm booking through an OTA, most of the product is commoditized. Back to our first episode, Kevin. And when people book and then they know who the person is and they experience it and they have a great time, it's very likely they're going to look for that person next time. Working in hotels, before I started TripShock, was in hotels. I've noticed how people would book through, Bookit.com and Expedia and all these other OTAs. Then next year they would be booking direct with us. That channel.
That's how it should work.
And we're like 80-90% new customers all the time, and I believe that's not going to change. Like OTAs always are going to be heavily gaining new customers all the time. I love to have more repeat customers, but the fact that, we are very much commoditized and we are focusing on a lot of, new customers, people on Google looking for broader range searches like things to do or boat tours. We're focusing on the newer ones. If we were going after the brand names real heavily, then, that would be a different story, but we really don't. So that's just kind of how it plays out.
I think that's honestly, that's the sweet spot of the best way to be. I mean, the sweet spot really is you have different offerings so that whether you're a TripShock or if you're a water sports company, that you've got multiple different things that people can do. If they, like Kevin, like you said, if they really had a great experience on that first time, they want to try something different, they're going to still come back to you. So if you only offer one type of tour, no, they won't. They're going to go back to TripShock to find something else. So it's like, I'm saying this because I can speak on both sides of it, that on one hand, that's how it's good for Condo-World, that if they stay at one of our units and they don't like it, they can come back to us, and we book the widest majority of inventory in the Myrtle Beach area, so they can find something very easily at another property, but still know it's a good property and they're going to have good customer service. Whereas if it's just one property and they went there and they didn't like it, they're not going to go back there and ask them where else to go. I mean, the company's cut out of the mix completely. So I think being able to have different offerings, even though you might not have tons of offerings like a true OTA like Condo-World or a TripShock would have, but it at least gives you more foot in the game to get that customer back in. And the other point that I want to mention too, and as accommodations marketers, sometimes I think we forget about this. People are coming to the destination for the experience of being in the destination and what they're going to do, what attractions they're going to go to, what activities they're going to do, where they're going to eat, stuff like that. The accommodations need to be nice, but the accommodations aren't the entire part of their trip. So, people, the more content that these attractions can put out and remind them how great Destin is, like you said, Kevin, that's really important. And that's kind of the synergy between vacation rentals or hotels and resorts and the attractions really working together.
Alex, we're going back and forth. We're talking about OTAs and we're talking about Google, and, both of these two acquisition channels are extremely expensive. So what's next? What's around the corner? I mean, where do you put your money when you're not putting it into Google or SEO?
To be honest, we don't really invest a whole lot of money in the OTAs because it's a small part of the business. It's less than 10%. We've got ways that we can modify the rates that cover our commission that we pay. So that's not really an expense. We don't really look at that as a marketing expense. For us, what the major expenses that we continue to invest in is just the technologies. We're in the process of rebuilding our website right now, which has been something we've needed to do probably started 2 years ago, but it's been delayed for a few different reasons. It's going to be a major project because we've got so many different APIs now that it's not just our properties that, and these APIs have existed for the past 6 years, but now we're trying to better streamline that into one feed that feeds our website along with a network of other websites and partnerships that we have to really create our own distribution strategy and our own distribution channel that pushes our units out, pushes our partners' units out, and really gives all of us the ability to not rely on the OTAs. But at the same time, we're still doing good with Google, so that's the main expense.
Well, no, that's right, but that's what I meant. Is like, so who's next in line? I mean, do you guys do paid social at all?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we do a lot of Facebook. Facebook has definitely come on very strong for us, Facebook ads. And I think at the end of the day, there's so many opportunities that we can do, and I always feel like we're not doing enough or that we could do things better, and I get stressed out about it, but we could definitely do some things with Facebook better, on the organic side, and being, there's just strategies that we could do better, and that's definitely a goal for 2021, but we still do well with it. On the ads side, it's great. I mean, for the retargeting and everything else, we're able to get people that are way more segmented, even though some of it's the lookalike audiences, some of it's the remarketing, but there are people that are most likely interested or did show interest in what we have. A little bit better than just regular magazine ads and newspaper ads like we used to do back in the day.
Do you see that there's possibly a space between, as far as say even maybe, the old school concierge partnerships that, vacation rentals used to have with tour and activities providers, and this just came to me. I was just thinking about this as you were speaking about social and content, because I think this is all of our fight, especially when you're just just throw a Google ad out there and the floodgates open and everybody books your shit and everything's good and you're happy. And then it's Facebook is more of and even Instagram is more of a grind. You have to get
right.
To get the right video, the right picture.
Yeah,
the right time
it is.
you're
Way more time intensive.
Absolutely. So have you ever thought about possibly working with some of the, let's say, you and Trip Shock, or you and Five other a content piece that's maybe a come to, almost like a CVB style, come to, Myrtle Beach, do these things with these people as far as a video is concerned, like parasailing, golf, what have you, putting together a whole content package and sort of working with operators. And if not, how do you guys work with operators in your area?
I think that would be really cool to do. You'd have to kind of plan this out, but if you wanted to do, if you picked, 5 attractions, like you said, and you have everybody have a day that they're featured on your channel and something different. And we do things like that already, but I wouldn't do it as it's me there talking to them about the attraction. I'd have them talk about it, have them do the selfie video, telling Condo-World people.
We're ugly. We're not good looking group.
We don't discriminate. We might want to interview the people first, but
some guy with a beard or something come parasailing. Oh God, not with you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I might need to rethink this, but people guests they want to see authentic things. I think there could be something there that you either do a partnership where it is a kind of more of a co-op type thing. The tough thing for vacation rentals and any of the resorts around here, we get people knocking on our door all the time that they want to put their menu or their coupon or whatever in our check-in envelope, which is a great place to be. Because, I mean, the guests have to open that to get their keys. You know, we can't put everything in there because then they're not going to get the important stuff that has our policies or anything information that they need to get. So we're very limited in who we let into that check-in package. You know, there's different opportunities that we do with controls and TV guides and stuff in the condos. But, you know, those things are harder to get because, you know, most of the established players, they've got partnerships already that they do those things with. I would say for any of the attractions that want to start something, go to the newer players in town. Go to some of the smaller vacation rental businesses. And I know down in Northwest Florida, there are tons of them. I mean, there are tons and tons of companies. And just see if they'd be interested in, you know, putting together some sort of a package where if they, you know, say the tour is $100 and if they're going to include it, for example, maybe you guys sell it to them for 80 or something like that. Or just a discount even if the guest pays for it. But there could be ways that you know, can go out there and try and work together on that for sure.
Yeah, from my experience, most of the smaller vacation rental managers are very eager to work with directly with the activities because they have the time to handle, you know, those relationships, put together those packages. But once you start getting to, you know, the ones that have 200, 300, 400 properties, it's not worth the time and the return on investment to, you know, be getting those rack cards and putting them in the check-in packets. Everything's digital now anyways. With, you know, the key lock systems and all that, virtual key lock systems. So, you know, they're looking for ways to, you know, either just make it easy, like, hey, go to like something like TripShock. We have a handful of partnerships, or they're just, you know, creating like a list of here's all the sites, the places that we recommend, and go here, go to
and we're forgetting the elephant in the room, Airbnb experiences.
Which they're really, I don't know what the current status is on that, but I know that was like a big part of the pandemic that they were planning on being like going all in on that. And then when the pandemic hit, they've kind of pulled back. So I don't expect to see huge things from that in the near term, at least. Just knowing how many layoffs and stuff they did too.
Alex, do you see a lot of bookings from Airbnb?
So Airbnb is a little bit complicated for us here. We currently aren't on it. We want to be back on because I think it's the more places that you have a presence on, the better. When we were on it, it really was not the best bookings that we were getting. It was mostly, a lot of the inquiries at least, were guests that were not 25, and you have to be 25 to stay in most of our accommodations. So it was a younger demographic. And the bookings we got, we normally had problems with the guests, which in a lot of cases that happens with OTA guests. And I hope that I really strongly believe our partners don't say that about Condo-World. Yes, because I think ours are a little bit different because we're not just an online website that nobody can call and talk to. We are a local brand of people that, you know, these guests have known in the destination for a long time. But you know, we haven't really had a home run with Airbnb yet. I think they are definitely pivoting more to favor individual hosts than professionally managed companies, and that really comes from what happened in the pandemic. I mean, that's the thing that drives me crazy about any of these sites is that if I tell somebody what I do, they say, "Oh, you're like Airbnb." But no, Airbnb is like us. Like that, you know, we've been around for many years. I mean, they are just a marketplace. They are just a website. They don't service the guests. They don't clean the unit. They don't do any of this stuff. I mean, they literally are just a website. We kind of sit in the middle that we service the guests. We see all of that side for our managed inventory. For the ones that are checking in at our partner resorts, yeah, we are more just like a marketplace. But our understanding of how the whole ecosystem works makes it a different experience, I think, for the guests and how they work with us.
It sounds like you feel about Airbnb than I feel about TripAdvisor.
Yes.
It's a lot better being compared to Airbnb than it is to be compared to Groupon. Like, I can't tell you how many times people introduce me like, yeah, he has a business that's just like Groupon. I'm like, come on.
God,
like,
no. Yeah.
Let's not even go there, right?
No.
So you said something that was interesting, which we left it off the table. Like, hey, we don't want to let the cat out of the bag on this super professional podcast that we have. But me and Greg and Alex did a little pre-production on this thing, so we've actually spoke, believe it or not, before this. And one thing I said, let's not even talk about it because I want to know. And you kind of opened the door to it a little bit because you're like, oh, the OTAs. And it rang a bell because we've had some OTA customers too that were problematic. So I want to know best, worst story that you've heard from one of your operators that like, where there was like Motley Crue stayed there or something like that.
Oh boy. I mean, And I was thinking about that. You guys asked if I could tell some stories, and I hear stories, but the interesting thing is, being in the marketing department, I really don't deal with guests a lot. If it escalates to me, it's something that either a website has done and there's some really crazy situation, but for the most part, I don't really deal with guests a whole lot. I do get to hear some interesting stories this summer and tell a short story, and then the main one I've got that's kind of funny. But this summer there was these gypsies that were traveling to a lot of our resorts in Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
And one of our partners at Sandy Beach Resort, he sent me a picture of them. They're checking in, and it was bad. I mean, they were. I don't really know a lot about gypsies, but I mean, they were not friendly ones. They were spitting on people in the check-in line and swearing and cursing and wearing like princess gowns and stuff. Like, it was really very bizarre. And then probably a day later, another one of our partners was like, "You're never going to believe this," and sends me a picture, and I'm like, "It's the same people. Like, they must have gotten kicked out of the first resort." But
did they have like gold earrings? How did you know they were gypsies?
Oh, well, if I can find a picture, I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put it in the show notes. It's pretty interesting, but that's not common for Myrtle Beach. This was something I'd never seen before, but they were unusual. That's not normally the demographic.
What? Traveling bands of gypsies? Yeah. What? You're crazy. They're all everywhere around here.
Yeah. No,
I didn't think that there was like gypsies since like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
I didn't even know they still
COVID
existed.
makes people do weird things, I guess.
It makes them become gypsies or join gypsy groups. Oh man,
yeah.
That's not even the main one. That's the tip of the spear. Oh my God.
That's
all right.
This other one that I have, this is more just like traditional, like things that can go wrong in vacation rental operations when you don't have your stuff together. But basically, we got this unit, and it's common that homeowners will change rental companies. From ours, we don't lose them a lot. If we lose a homeowner, it's mostly for real estate sales, but we lose some from time to time, but not a whole lot. This was one of the first years I started, and we had just gotten this new rental from another company, penthouse unit that slept 20 people. It was like a 7-bedroom. It was huge. We had just gotten it, and the rental company that lost the unit, what they're supposed to do, and if you lose a unit, especially midsummer, you need to move the bookings that you had on the books to other units. So that's what you're supposed to do. But this company wasn't really keeping up with things very well. So we get the unit, and we've been told everything's been moved off the books. And so we book it for this upcoming week. Our guests show up on Saturday at Condo-World, and they get the keys, and there's all 20 of them there. I mean, it was like a huge family. They go up to the condo, they unpack, and they all go down to the beach. Meanwhile, this family shows up that had booked a reservation at that unit, shows up at the other rental company, and other rental company, the person at the front desk, they still had keys to the unit, didn't think anything of it, didn't realize that it was odd that this reservation hadn't been moved, gave the people the keys to the unit. So they go to the unit. So we've got 2 families in the unit. They get up there and they say, okay, like they see people's stuff, and it's, that's Uncle Bob and Aunt Sally, they're probably down on the beach. So they all go down to the beach. You've got both families sitting down there on the beach, not knowing what's going on. And as you can see where this story's going, an hour later, they all end up in the same condo. They're all like, who are you? And everybody's screaming and crying, and it was just a disaster. But so they call our guests call us, and they're just mortified, and the poor other guests, they had no idea that the unit wasn't on the rental program, and so now it ended up being a good thing for us. They became our guests. We gave them great hospitality and found them comparable accommodations and got them settled. But I mean, it ended up that all the guests were kind of laughing and joking about it. It was definitely an unusual and awkward condo situation.
All right, well, Alex, we appreciate you coming on the show. This was a great conversation.
Yeah,
we learned. I learned a heck of a lot. That was
me
really
too,
awesome.
Man. The gypsies were definitely
the gypsies.
We're sending them down to Northwest Florida next summer, so watch out.
Send them. Hey, listen, you tell them go straight over to tripshock.com and do all of their booking.
Yeah, exactly.
All their booking needs.
Yep, you can bring your dresses right on the boat.
Awesome.
Don't spit on people.
That's
Alex,
right.
can you tell our listeners real quick how they can connect with you if they have any comments or feedback?
Yeah, sure. I didn't even think that what the easiest way to do that is. My email, Alex, ALEX at condo-world.com. Our website's condo-world.com, or on LinkedIn. Alex, my last name's Husner, Husner. But yeah, would love to connect with anybody, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to be on the call with you guys, and love listening to the podcast. So keep up the great work. It's been fun.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. If you're in the water sport industry, this is the podcast that brings the business perspective to parasailing, jet and ski boat rentals, sailing, snorkeling, and everything else. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Be sure to sign up to our email list at watersportpodcast.com and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.